Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's had a great week. I wanted to share something today that is a struggle that I personally have dealt with, and I just felt like by sharing it, my hope is that if someone else has struggled with this same thing, that I might be able to offer some new perspective. So here's the thing: we all have defining moments in our life. Some of those are awesome, and some of them not so much. Either way, they can have a really big impact on who we are and who we become. And so back in October of 1998, I was standing on the steps, the front porch of our childhood, the house I grew up in on McPherson Lane, and I was holding this letter from the University of South Carolina. It was a letter that I had been waiting on for weeks, as you do your senior year of high school. But I could tell by the size and the shape of the letter that it was not the type of letter that I had been hoping to receive. I didn't have to open it. I knew what it would say, but I did anyway, of course. And it was I don't remember the wording exactly, it was some tactful way of saying you're not accepted. And let me tell you, there are no amount of mom hugs or everything happens for a reason type sentiments to offset the pain and disappointment that you feel when you receive a letter like that. My spirit was totally crushed that day. And here, the thing is that I struggled in school, clearly. It was not an easy thing for me, but I'd come to accept it because I had found other ways to excel. I played sports all 4 seasons of the year. I engaged in different leadership roles with student government and found ways to plug in to all kinds of different organizations and ways to serve and volunteer and things like that. And that's how I defined who I was up until this moment. And this moment, standing on my steps with this letter, I was being defined in a totally different way. I was being defined by a GPA number and a test score, and neither one of those things were good enough. And that day, I started this story reel in my head that really held me back for a really long time. It was, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, and if people knew the real truth about you, they would think less of you. And I held on to that for a really, really long time, and it sounds ridiculous when I say that out loud. Those things, they're horrible things to say to yourself, and they're really stupid. I use that word now that I have children, but it's really ridiculous when I look at the whole truth. Because here's the thing: I was accepted to USC. They told me that and I'm really disclosing how much I struggled in school with this, but they told me if I could bring my GPA up to a 3.0. And if I could score 1,000 on the SAT by the spring of my senior year, then they would accept me. And so I busted my ass. I worked so hard. And I did get my GPA up to a 3.0. And I did score 1,000 on the SAT. Lord knows I wasn't going to give them 1 point more, but I did exactly what they said. And they honored their word and they accepted me. And I started fall of my freshman year at the University of South Carolina, the one and only school that I applied to. I finished there on time. My GPA never fell below a 3.0. I went to grad school there. I got my master's in elementary education, and I excelled in that program. So for all intents purposes, for anyone outside of that looking in, they'd say that was a win. But I didn't. I continued to attach and hang on to the words that I told myself that afternoon standing on our front porch. It wasn't enough for me. And it wasn't until I started stepping into my own truth that I started to become a lot more aware of some of these negative thoughts and things that were holding me back. And I knew that I needed to look at things from a fresh, new perspective. And so I took that story and I took that moment of me standing on my front porch, and I looked at it as if it had happened to one of my girls. And if that was Carson or Hayes' story, I would be so incredibly proud. So I mean, the fact that they didn't get accepted the first time would be so insignificant compared to what they had accomplished. So if I was willing to feel that about them with this story, why on earth am I not giving myself the same amount of credit or grace that I would give them? Why am I choosing to hang on to that one day, that one moment in time, rather than accepting what really happened and being proud of my journey? I have no clue why anyone would choose to do that. It makes no sense. But I did recognize that it was a choice that I had made and it continued to make by owning that script, that negative script. And so the reason I wanted to share that today is because I feel like if you feel like you find yourself having those negative thoughts and feelings, I encourage you to look back and try and pinpoint that moment where you started that script. And look at it, take that story, take that moment, and look at it as if it happened to somebody that you love or care deeply about or admire very much. For me, it was my girls. For you, it might be a friend or a coworker or a family member, just someone that you care deeply about. And take that moment and that story and give it to them. And pay close attention to the words that you would use if you were talking to them about that story. Because my guess is that you will be much kinder. The words that you would choose would be so much kinder than the words that you're choosing to tell yourself. That was the case for me. And the beautiful thing about this is that any kind of script or internal dialogue that you are telling yourself, that can always be rewritten. It's a draft, and you are the author of that script. And so if you want it to be different, it's just a choice. And if you're going to rewrite the script, think of it as if you're talking to someone that you love and care deeply about, and choose those same words that you would choose for them, choose those for yourself. So here's my new script. I am smart enough, I am good enough, and when people know the truth about me because I've now spilled it on Facebook, they will think more of me and not less. And so thank y'all for tuning in for a few minutes, and I hope everybody has an awesome weekend. All right, thanks.